Up next, Maycom alumni Alexandra Anderson with an inspiring story. She grew up in Odessa, Ukraine, and her mother and sister were still living in Odessa at the state of the invasion. Alexandra worked to get them out along with other Ukrainian families, pets, and etc. Ladies and gentlemen, Alexandra Anderson.
Hello, thank you so much. This is probably my fourth fundraiser now over the last month, and it's my honor to be here. I am very, very excited to be back at the school that has given me such a beautiful community for many years, that has provided me a path into the future. And today I wanted to tell you a story about a city I was born in. It's a very different part of Ukraine. It's the most diverse city, I think, in the world. A city that I love. It's called Odessa. Odessa is the prime exporter of grain to the world, and tomorrow is 100th day of the war. So to start with, being born in Odessa gives you a very different attitude about life, because the city is full of so many different cultures. There is something to do there every night. It has rich Jewish community, rich Christian community. There is Muslim community that is thriving. And there is an international port system that operates 24 hours a day. The air there smells like peaches and textiles. And the Black Sea has the view that is unforgettable. We often say that we can leave Odessa, but Odessa will never leave anyone who has ever visited it for longer than a week. I was born in Odessa in 1988. That was 2 years after Chernobyl. And my family has migrated a lot around Eastern Europe for a century. My great-grandparents fought against the communist army in Odessa. My grandparents fought against the Nazi Germans in Odessa. And now my family again had to fight another aggressor in Odessa, Mykolaiv region. And on February 21st, I knew the war was going to happen, and the world still hasn't dealt with it, hasn't accepted that reality. And the first thing that I did was texted my little sister, who is now in the room with us. And she was there, she was in the house between Odessa and Mykolaiv region. And she was sitting there with our little brother, who is 11 years old, and my mom. And she left an apartment in Odessa. She's a teacher, so she left an apartment in Odessa. She came to the house to stay with the family. And then siren went off. And I downloaded this app on the phone. It's an air raid app. It's called Siren. And every time a siren goes on, it went on both of our phones, Zhenya's and mine. And I'm here in Southington, Connecticut. And Zhenya is by Odessa, by Black Sea, in that house. And the sound of the siren is the most excruciating sound you could ever imagine. It means the bombs and rockets are flying right at my sister. That means she has 30 seconds to get from upstairs and into the basement. And for me, she was born and I carried her in my arms when she was a baby. We have a big difference between us, so she's kind of like my first child in a way. So she runs into the basement, and I laid on the floor in the middle of our living room for probably 4 days, and my husband didn't quite know what to do with me, and my kids were like, "Mommy, are you alive?" And I'm like, "Not really, baby, like, go to talk to daddy." But the siren sounded 44 times from February 24th until May 3rd. May 3rd, if you remember, the Zaporizhia in Energodar, the atomic station, got bombed. But that night, bombs also started falling outside of Odessa, and they found the street where my family was at. In the next 2 hours, I was on a plane to Poland, and they were on an evacuation route to Poland border. The bombing continues on. The train gets derailed. Now I'm not going to Poland anymore. I'm now going from Poland to Romania, and then I'm taking a car, and then I'm driving across the border to Slovakia, where I get into a microbus with a volunteer team. And in the middle of the night, we drive through the woods to the border. And in front of me, we're wearing orange vests, so we're easily recognizable. So it's me and the volunteer border driver. And in front of me, all of a sudden, out of the woodwork, there's barricades. NATO army. There's a helicopter flying overhead. The army comes up to us, so where are you guys going? And we're horrified because they're fully in gear. And we said, we're going to pick up families. And then they turn around and they go, welcome. You know, your family's to the right, like go to the parking lot, pick them up. And I picked them up. And then on the way, between me picking up my family and to our temporary housing place, a lot of families from United States, from Israel, from many different countries where we have connections started calling me and they said, we know you're in Europe, get my guys, get my family, help us. Can you secure the housing? Can you help find the driver? It was a complete mess, but we actually, in this chaos, we ended up evacuating, I think including partnership organization, I think we evacuated closer to 360 people total, and this is southern Ukraine, so that's like Odessa and going east, so to Mariupol region. So that's Mykolaiv, Melitopol, Mariupol, and going to that southeastern borders as Black Sea and Azov Sea. My hope is that we continue supporting Ukraine as a country. I have lived here for many, many years. I am probably more American now than I am Ukrainian, but my heart has always been in Odessa. It's true, I can't take it away from myself, no matter how much or how hard I try to pretend, it will always be there. And with American government opening up a program called Uniting for Ukraine, and Razom organization petitioning very heavily to open this program up, we're now, after 3 months, able to freely bring our family for reunification that were stuck in Europe for months on end from these regions where they can't really go back to their houses. So now we have had a 2 to 3 weeks time where the families are arriving here. We want to be able to support them. So one of the biggest things that you can do is please help support Ukrainian families when you see somebody lost and confused, just sort of, help guide them and help them feel welcome. And the other part is probably to be able to continue support the Ukrainian army in funding, as well as organizations such as Razom, because it is not a secret that Ukraine has happened to be the front line of the free world today, and we must stay together. Thank you so much for listening to me.